Hello, this is Arthur Nix with EWKS, and today I'm going to talk about bid proposals in HeavyBid. Now, this is a subject you're not going to find a whole lot on in the HCSS Academy, except for the bid proposals for the DOT, or actually the import and export from Astroware or whatever your state uses. That's very well addressed in HCSS Academy, so I would encourage you, if you're a DOT type bidder, this particular series that I'm going to do on bid proposals is probably not for you. So, what am I addressing here is the person or the company that's doing bid proposals for the private side of construction. So, and this will probably be a series of 3 videos, I think, maybe 4. We'll see how it goes. So when we go up here, and we're in HeavyBid, and we go up here to Summary, we see the bid proposals options right here. Now, this does not cover, you can also in Exchange, and then when you go to Export, you got Export to Excel, so you have some more options there. In terms of dumping it direct, into an Excel document. So, but for right now, I'm addressing these right here. Specifically, today, I'm going to cover the Concise and the Customize. The word is going to be different, not covering that one. We will maybe cover the Excel in another video. This one is the new web-based one. This hasn't really gone too far. I don't really see that this is going to be an option for desktop, HeavyBid desktop, anywhere in the near future. It just doesn't seem to be developing fast. And then we have this proposal preparation. More than likely, I'm not going to do that. That's a very small subset of HeavyBid users that uses that. And you either use it all the time or you never use it. It's one or the other. So, like I said, I have seen very few people use this, although HCSS has updated this periodically. So it's still in their, in their active list. All right, so let's start with the Concise right here. Probably the oldest one. This goes all the way back to 1986, I think, or right after that when HeavyBid was introduced, DOS. So we come out here. It's actually a report. And you can see you actually have a lot of options too. You got suppress. All these things can be suppressed. You can use the client number instead of the HeavyBid number. You can print subtotals only. I don't know why you do the conversions. You even have optional sorts. And, you can specify landscape or portrait right here. If you do want something to stick, so that you're not changing this time and time again, come down here and set it, select which one you want, and then come down here and save as defaults. And that works for any of the HeavyBid reports so that you don't have to keep checking the options. And that will be estimator specific, user specific. So, another estimator can do their own custom options right there. It follows the user, not system-wide. All right, and then let's go ahead and print this out and take a look at this. It pulls it up pretty quick, probably one of the fastest. But you can see it's very plain, and in 2026, this is really too basic in my opinion. I would not want to send this out to a customer. But I know people that do. You could easily identify an estimate produced from HeavyBid because everybody knows this format right here. It's pretty funny. You can also directly email out of here. You can print this. I have not set up my email, but you could send this out. And then you would have to, the issue is you'd probably want to have a cover letter. You probably want to have footnotes and inclusions, exclusions. So to me, this is not really the greatest option to use. Still there though. All right, so let's cover one that's probably a much better choice. It's one that when I train new users, this is the feature that I use. So this is the one that I train them in because it's really easy. I tell them, it's not pretty, it's not super sophisticated, but it gets the quote out. All right. So let's look at the customize right here. Pull this up and you get this modal screen right here. I've already filled some things out just so, we don't have to sit there and watch me type. And you can see here, let's just start from the top. You have you can call it, this will give you a nice bold header at the top. You don't have to use this. You could leave it blank and it will, it'll just be blank on the quote. You could have this already set up, your company. Now I will add, if you want to use this, you want to set up all this basic setup in the master estimate. And then the next estimate that has been copied from the master will have this information. There's really no way that I can take this information from this particular estimate and then copy it to the next estimate. All right, it has to be copy the whole entire estimate. So don't forget that. I suggest just play around with it in an estimate till you get it to where you want to, and then open up and use at the top here. Here, let's cancel this a minute. At the top, the ball, you open up a new instance, and then you just side by side reproduce it from the master from the whatever estimate you were in to the master. All right, so you could have two estimates open at the same time. All right, let's go back to customize. All right, and you can also change the icon right here. And so when I click this, it says 155 by 155 pixels, and it has to be a bitmap, and that is a .bmp file. Most people are not familiar with that. What I suggest is if you're not familiar with resizing images and, call up HCSS tech support. I'm sure they could do this for you and give you your logo back to you resized. All right. Very easy to do. I will say the 155 is too small. I don't know why HCSS has not corrected this. Probably never will. But I start, when I take a logo, somebody's logo, I start around 190. Okay. And then that's the, if it's a rectangle, okay, not square, then I'll let that be that's the first number. I'll let that be 190. When I'm resizing it, I just let it automatically select the second number because it's proportional. But 190 that's where I start. This particular one that I have is at 175. All right, so that's my logo there. It's at 175. But just remember, this was designed for a square logo. So yes, rectangular will work up to a point, and then it's just too long because it's going to carry this text next to it. What I suggest, if you use this a lot, just come up with a new logo that's somewhat square, and you'll get a better looking document. All right. And it will preview it. You notice mine does not preview because it's a rectangle. It has to kind of fit in there for it to preview. All right. Let's cover some other things. These fields right here. If you open this now, and you've never opened this before, believe it or not, it will say fax right here. And it will say fax down here. Don't ask me why. In 2026, it still carries fax. Even though I know a few people that still have fax numbers, but not many. So how do we modify these headings right here? Right here, modify headings, and then you can name them. You can also just blank them out if you don't want them. So that's your option right there. And all this can be renamed. You can put in new fields right here so that you could have, additional data. It's pretty flexible for what it is. It's pretty flexible. I wish they would have revised the logo, but it's not going to happen. But everything else, they've done some work on this over the years, and it is pretty flexible. So I save the headings right there. You notice down here in the bottom left, I can also do a lot of things like suppress unit prices. Maybe I don't want the unit prices to show up. Here, we'll do that on the first go around. And we don't, but we want to have the extensions there. We can do suppress subtotals. We can have a letterhead space in case you're using letterhead. Suppress grand totals, suppress quantity. So a lot of things you can do right here that does make this pretty flexible. And you notice here I can have my report based on the client number or the bid item and 2 or 3 decimal. Very few places. Well, you can quote things out in 3 decimals in HeavyBid, but that is a setting that you have to change. All right, let's go ahead and click the preview button right here. And then the reason, the way you know this is working is it will come up. You'll see it in a minute. And this is one of the slowest ones, but ActiveX option. So that's how you know it's working. So there you go. And there it is. Looks pretty nice. You notice the logo right there. If it was square, it would be eating up this space right here. Again, it doesn't look too bad. There's that big header I was talking about right there. There's nothing I can do to really change any of this. I can't change fonts. It is what it is. And, like I said, it gets the quote out. And it doesn't do a bad, it's not that bad. Now, talking about notes, you notice I have notes. I didn't cover that. Oh, and look right here. I don't have the unit prices. I suppressed those right there, but I still have the totals right here. So a lot of options there. And if you come on down, I got the notes right here. I actually had, I'll show you where this came from, but then I have my inclusions, exclusions here. And then up here, I can go to the second page. There's all that right there, which you can cut and paste, not here, but you can cut and paste in the first screen. So I'll show you that in a minute. What are my options for exporting here? I can export the report. But you notice all my options, there is no email. All right, so I can't email here. I did try, it does export out to Excel if you want that. So there's some options there that maybe you might try a Word, and then you can modify some of the stuff. It's going to be kind of tough to do. I think pretty much if you want to use this, just accept it for what it is. So let's go ahead now and let me close that out. Let's go. There's that note that I had that appeared as the first note at the top. So you could kind of do custom notes here. And then when I come down, you notice there's my footnote right there. And there's the verbiage right there. It's just cut and paste. And you have to there's no formatting here. So you really have to kind of play with this. Again, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things. You can stretch it if you want to see more. You could stretch this out, but it's just going to print the way you see it right here. Now, I can also use my footnotes right here. If I have like an extensive inclusions, exclusions, footnotes, and they vary all the time, then I can select my footnotes, set these up where I'm just checking these off right here, and they're coming into the estimate. So, as a note. So you might be toggling these on because they're applicable to this customer. So that's pretty cool. It works. And but I would encourage you in the master estimate, just have your default inclusions, exclusion, your boilerplate that goes out with this. If you want, even at the end of the day, you can still put a cover letter on this thing. So now, as the last thing I would point out is you can also tie this into the vendor contact system. And what you would do is you would set up the vendor fields, and then you can come down and indicate which vendor field will go into which one of these right here. I don't see that many people using that, but it does work. It prints out multiple documents that each one you'll have to put out to a PDF individually. There's no mass mass export out to PDF. So if you put 10 of these customers, and you have these linking up with these fields right here, you're going to have to go to each one of those documents to go File, Export, PDF, and do it 10 times. All right, so not the best solution if you want to use that. I don't see that many people using this right here. They pretty much just use it in this the way that I show it right here. So that pretty much wraps it up for the concise and the customize. And the next video, I won't do it on this one because this one's going to be more involved. We're going to cover the Word version, which is really the most flexible one. And it's the one that that I would encourage you to try anyway. It is, when you first get into it, it is a little overwhelming. But I think if you watch my next video, it's going to help a lot. Anyway, this is Arthur Nix with EWKS. I hope this has been helpful. And try these two versions of bid proposals, see what you like. And then, wait for the next version, the next video on the Word bid proposal. Thank you.